Charlie Hedge is beginning the challenge of a lifetime. A solo hike in the Sierra Nevada mountains. With his 50th birthday approaching, he's out to prove he's still got what it takes to survive alone in the wilderness.
I love the solitude, I love nature, I love the outdoors. It's something I always wanted to do. Considered myself being somewhat self-sufficient. And so I think I kind of went up there alone in an attempt to prove that to myself, I think.
Charlie has hiked in the mountains many times before, but always with friends. He knows that going alone will be his toughest challenge yet.
I'm not getting any younger, and I'm not as in good a shape as I used to be, and I just wanted to get lost for a week. Walk away my worries.
Charlie's long-term girlfriend of 7 years, Julie, knows what this solo trip means to him.
Charlie has spent a lot of time, I think, on his own and alone. He likes to go and do things by himself. He got this wild hair, this idea that he really wanted to go and do this. And I knew that there was no stopping him.
I remember we hugged and kissed. She wished me luck, told me to be careful, told me she loved me, and I told her the same.
He's a big kid. Charlie's a big kid.
Charlie has planned a challenging route, a 30-mile circuit which he hopes to complete in just 5 days. His first day's climb takes him high into the Sierra Nevada peaks. Here, 20 miles from civilization, he can enjoy the beauty and solitude. It's just him and nature.
The Sierra Nevada mountains, just a gorgeous spot. Being alone in the wilderness appeals to me because of the beauty. I just think Mother Nature has so much to offer. Unspoiled, quiet. As far as me going solo, Julie certainly had her concerns.
I was concerned that maybe he wasn't in shape for this. He hadn't done a hike this length in a very long time.
But Charlie makes good progress up the mountain. And after a grueling hike, he can reap the rewards of being self-sufficient.
Part of the allure of going up there is fishing. You get high enough in the mountains and there's golden trout. Catching some fish and eating them that night. Nothing beats fresh fish. I felt real good that first day.
In September, conditions in the Sierra Nevada mountains can change instantly and dramatically. But in his enthusiasm to get going, Charlie ignored weather warnings. By early evening, a fierce wind blows in, and his peace is shattered.
Wednesday night, the wind started picking up. And that's the first time I really felt exposed. You know you're alone, the wind's picking up, you're not sleeping, you're wondering, this isn't any fun, you know? I really became concerned for the first time Thursday when it really started to snow and the wind was just howling.
The wind becomes a vicious snowstorm, and Charlie hunkers down for the night, hoping it will pass.
When I woke up, pretty much snow everywhere. Woo! I got up and literally I was half buried in snow. But the weather was kind of breaking.
Although the skies are clearing, the new snow has transformed the landscape. Navigating the route ahead will be a formidable task.
At that point, there's really no trail. And if there was, it was buried in snow. I've been up there before years ago, and it just did not look familiar.
For Charlie, this trip was to be the test of his ability to survive in the wild. But he now faces a difficult dilemma: to cut his trip short and head back down the mountain, or forge ahead with his original plan.
I made the decision to continue. Get up and over the pass and get down the east side. The weather should be better down there, certainly. So I dug the snow out, packed everything up, headed up to the pass.
Charlie struggles on for 2 hours, but hiking blind across the snowdrifts, he's way out of his depth.
It was just very tough. I realized that I might have made a mistake proceeding. But my rationality tried to overtake me, and I told myself, you'll be okay.
Having committed himself to going forward, Charlie continues on over the hazardous pass. But here, the terrain is perilous, and now the weather takes another dramatic turn for the worse.
It really started to snow, and the wind was just howling. It was just blowing in my face.
Despite the worsening conditions, Charlie is determined to complete his ambitious hike. But as the raging blizzard intensifies, he starts to realize that he's in over his head.
While I was thinking what to do, my face is getting all cold from the wind, and I remember just turning around with the wind at my back. I don't remember tripping. I don't remember flying through the air. I just remember I hit my head. I don't know how far I fell, but it had to be 30, 40 feet at a time. You have no control. You just hope you land and survive.
Charlie helplessly plummets to certain death. But a rock ledge, jutting out of the cliff face, breaks his fall and saves his life.
The ledge that I landed on was no more than maybe 6 feet deep and maybe 10 feet wide. I looked up. I couldn't go up. It was too steep. Looked down. It was steeper than heck. I was trapped on a rock. It's just an awful feeling.
Teetering on the edge of a 500-foot drop, Charlie must literally cling on for his life. But the fall has shattered his right wrist and badly damaged his spine, and the blow to his head has left him with severe concussion. Blasted by the freezing wind, his survival instincts kick in.
Soon after, I was just overcome with the pain of my injuries. My whole right arm was just numb from pain. It immediately swelled up. And the right side of my head hurt like mad. I knew that the only way I had a chance to survive is to get warm. So I wanted to get that tent up and get inside my bag and try and warm myself. I was in such a confined space, there was no room to move. The ground was hard. I couldn't stake it into place and pull it tight like you would normally do. So I finally got on my bag and rubbed myself, tried to get warm and dry off. I distinctly remember, for one split second, realizing how lucky I was to survive. I kind of got warm. I kind of gained my senses a little bit. And I thought, well, I got a cell phone, I could try that.
Okay. Hello.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed. Please call your operator to help you.
And of course, it didn't work. Beep, beep, beep. Because of the lack of the signal.
No. Oh, no.
I became very despondent because I knew at that point there's no way I'm gonna ever reach anybody from the outside world.
Isolated and trapped on the ledge, Charlie is in urgent need of medical attention. Worse still, he isn't due to finish his hike until Saturday, in a day's time. Until then, no one will even suspect he's in trouble.
All I could do at that point is wait. So I surmised that if anybody's gonna come looking for me, they're gonna wait 2 days. So my job at that point was to try and survive and bide my time until Monday.
But Charlie's food supplies are running dangerously low. He only has a handful of snacks left.
I knew I had to kind of ration what little food I had left, which is mainly trail mix and granola bars. I was hungry all the time.
Once his food supplies run out, Charlie knows he won't be able to last very long without help.
Realizing that, thinking that they quit looking for me, I thought I had to, I can't stay here. I'll dwindle and die.
Charlie faces his 4th night on the mountain. Without food or water, he knows he can't survive another day, and there's little chance of rescue. It's life or death, but can he save himself?
I was certain that they stopped looking for me. And so what am I gonna do now? I thought I'm gonna have to try and get out by myself.
Pinned to an icy ledge, Charlie Hench realizes that rescuers are looking for him in the wrong place and may never find him. He must take action or surely die. His only choice is to attempt to scale the sheer rock face, despite his injuries.
I went into panic mode, thinking, if I'm going to survive this, I got to try and get out. I knew I couldn't go down. It was out of the question. And I kind of surveyed the landscape above me. And I said, I'll try this way, up and to the left, as I face the mountain.
But with a badly damaged spine and broken wrist, every inch Charlie climbs is agony.
My hand is broken, so it's most difficult. You're kind of hugging these rocks one-handed. It was just very tough. I made it under, around, over these humongous boulders. I scrambled over, 3 or 4 rocks. And then just, I couldn't go up anymore. Didn't know what to do, so I just sat on the rock right where I was kind of like trapped. I was trapped on an even smaller rock, and I thought I couldn't go down and couldn't go up. I was literally stuck even in a worse spot. And it was early evening, and so I didn't know what to do. And so I made the decision, well, I'm just gonna stay here. What else can I do?
Charlie's shattered wrist and weakness from dehydration make scaling the near vertical cliff face impossible. Away from the shelter of his tent, he is now totally exposed to the icy wind, and the temperature plummets.
It was just so uncomfortable. Not only could you not sleep, but you're just uncomfortable in the position you were. And I thought it was, I didn't think I was gonna make it. A, I was so uncomfortable. B, they stopped looking for me. So I just laid awake all night, looked at the moon.
That was the darkest time, I'd say. I was very discouraged at that point. I did not sleep well during those nights. I thought something had happened, that I would never see Charlie again.
As the night wears on, exposed to the freezing temperatures, Charlie risks dying of hypothermia.
It was the longest night of my life. I had to stay awake all night. Didn't have to, had no choice. I wrote a few things out, like a lousy attempt at a will, because I thought it was all over, and I just kind of, divvied up the little things I have to people I know and love. It's an awful feeling.
Against the odds, Charlie survives the bitter night. But the ordeal has taken its toll.
I was not going to spend any more time on this rock, and so I chose the lesser evils, which was the ledge. And I'm looking forward to climbing back in my bag, and I was gonna write some last words. So I scrambled my way back down. It took me 20 or 30 minutes with one arm and 2 feet and hoping for the best.
But just as Charlie has all but given up on life, he finds a last possible lifeline.
I'm thinking maybe I could start a fire. It never occurred to me to start a friggin' fire. Maybe I could light a fire, you know, as a signal for another helicopter or other hikers. But I didn't have much. I had some old magazines, and I had some plastic slippers. I figured, well, plastic sandals might smoke. But I had like 3, 4 matches left. My hands were just all torn up. My wrist was broken, so I think I tried to strike him with my left hand. First match, you know, lit and wouldn't light the paper. Second match got wet because my fingers were so wet to begin with. I forget what happened in the third match. And so at that point, that's when I started to say, well, I'm just gonna maybe go to sleep. I was so tired.
Back home, Charlie's friend, Dave Gra, is growing more concerned about the failure to find his buddy. As a trained pilot, he decides he needs to get involved in the search and try to save his friend.
Tuesday night, I think I woke up several times during the night and couldn't help but think of Charlie and thought that, well, I need to do something.
35 years earlier, Dave's brother got lost in a storm hiking the same trail that Charlie has been following. He has a hunch that the helicopters have been looking in the wrong valley.
I was thinking about my brother's accident. If it's snowing or windy or something like that, it can be downright dangerous. It can be fairly easy to get lost. So I had to climb very, very hard and still had to probably circle around a bit to get up over the mountains. Look down and try to scour the rocks for someone that might be stuck there.
But this aerial search also ends in failure.
I couldn't help but be disappointed that he wasn't there. I wasn't going to find him, and that probably was not good given the weather and the time that had gone by.
After almost 6 days, trapped alone on an icy rock ledge, Charlie has given up all hope of surviving his ordeal. Death itself now seems a welcome escape.
At that point, I'm so depressed and tired and hungry and dehydrated, thinking no one was looking for me anymore. So I was really in despair. I was just totally numb. It was probably my lowest point.
Charlie knows that rescue teams are looking for him in the wrong place, and that no one will find him. It's only a matter of time before he dies.
I was a beaten horse, you know. I had a buck knife, and I thought it'd be easier if I ended. done that. I got too many friends that love me, and I love life too much. That's no way to go for a man like me.
Just weeks away from his 50th birthday, this trip was supposed to rejuvenate his life. Now, Charlie waits for a slow, agonizing death.
I hear this plane, and he's at, you know, he's above me. This guy is, you know, almost at my sight. And so I got my fishing pole with my stuff sack on, and I'm waving it.
I'm here.
And then he goes by, and I wasn't sure he saw me.
Over here.
So then he turns around, he comes like right toward me again. Wave my bag. He does the wing dip, you know, like you see on Star Wars and that. And I just thought that was the best thing that happened right there.
After nearly a week, trapped alone on a small rock ledge, Charlie Hench is finally found. Following a gut instinct, his friend Dave decided to search the far side of the mountain pass, close to where his brother was lost, one last time.
Well, it was pretty amazing. I mean, I guess Charlie could be described as a needle and the mountain's a haystack, and I did find that needle in a haystack. I've actually been to the ledge where he was stuck, and I've been there during the summer. And it's a pretty scary place. Charlie could have been killed. My experience in that whole thing is that it turned out good. I mean, Charlie and I have quite a bond that we wouldn't have had before, and that's something pretty special.
When we got the call that they found Charlie, I mean, it was pure just elation. We both just fell apart, and you could just hear it in his voice that it was pretty traumatic. So I was just very thankful. He's a survivor. That's just, he's a tough guy.
Charlie received emergency treatment for his broken wrist, lower spine, and head injuries. And when he returned home, was welcomed like a hero.
I finally got back to town and saw Julie. I was just thrilled. She's a big part of my life. And I was just very happy to see her. It was just the little things that kept me alive that I wanted to return to, that I love so much.
People think that sailing is a very quiet undertaking. It's not. Big waves are slamming against the side of the boat. You get this quite jerky motion, but I was still able to kind of lie down, and I was kind of half asleep. All of a sudden, there was this big bang on the side of the boat. There was just this huge flood of water immediately.
Steve has no idea what he's hit, but the boat's hull has been torn apart.
The water was rising very, very quickly.
Within seconds, the water is above his head.
I just thought, this boat is going to be underwater. I'm going right to the bottom.
Steve's boat is sinking. He knows he has seconds to get to the life raft up on deck.
So I yank on the line, and the line keeps coming out. No, nothing. It just didn't work at all. Finally, boom, it pops open.
Steve makes it to safety. But just as he's about to cut himself loose, a terrifying thought hits him.
With the equipment that's in the raft, I will not last very long at all.
Everything he needs to have any chance of survival is stowed deep inside the flooded boat.
It was essential that I go back on the boat and dive down and get equipment. Even though I realized that the boat could slip under the waves at any moment.
Against every instinct, he knows he has no option but to dive back down into the sinking boat.
So it was all dark in there, so I couldn't really see anything. I could feel the ditch kit. It was tied down. And I started cutting away.
Steve frees his emergency supply kit. But just as he makes it to the exit hatch,
The hatch slammed closed. The boat's covered with water. I'm going down. I thought that was it. If I don't get out of here right now, I am going to die. There's 100% certainty of that.
but just as Steve's lungs are about to burst, a huge wave breaks across the boat.
All of a sudden, there's air. It was a huge, huge relief.
With only seconds to spare, Steve escapes, clutching his vital emergency supplies.
I jumped into the raft and I saw that I was drifting away from the boat.
Steve can only watch as he drifts away from not just his boat, but also his dream.
I went drifting off into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It just was kind of devastating. That first night, it blew hard. Really cold and really wet and really scary. I was shivering a lot and I was worried about dying of hypothermia. I might not make it till the morning.
Dawn breaks to reveal the true horror of Steve's situation. His boat is gone, and he is alone in the middle of the Atlantic.
I'm a long way away from anybody, and I'm in a very empty part of the ocean as well. I am just this teeny little thing surrounded by this immensity of sea. It was kind of overpowering.
Steve has no means of communication and knows that no one will be looking for him.
I told people at home, I gave them 5 or 6 weeks after I left the Canary Islands as being, you know, don't worry about me if I don't show up this time.
Steve calculates he's 1,000 miles from land and completely at the mercy of wind and currents as they push him further westwards, out into the ocean.
I was in a place where there was basically no shipping, and I really needed to get to the shipping lanes to have any chance of being picked up at all.
Steve estimates that the shipping lanes are 350 miles further west. But even if the winds still push him in the same direction, it will take him at least 2 weeks to get there. And he only has a tiny supply of emergency drinking water.
I was worried. I had 8 pints of water, which theoretically was good enough for maybe 8 days.
Without enough water, he has almost no chance of making the shipping lanes alive.
It's a great irony that the world's biggest desert actually is the ocean. You can't drink any of the water there. There's no shade, and my chances of survival were almost hopeless.
Along with a harpoon and a few other supplies he rescued from his boat, Steve discovers 3 emergency water purification kits, known as solar stills.
The solar stills that I had were created during the Second World War for downed pilots. I never knew anybody who'd actually used them before. I've got 8 pints of water. It's over 2 weeks before I reach the shipping lane. So the solar stills were absolutely critical to any long-term survival.
Steve fills the still with seawater, knowing that the heat of the sun should separate the salt from the water.
I'd have, half hour, I've got a whole bag of water. I kept trying them again and again and again.
Steve cannot figure out how the solar stills work.
It's seawater, it was just seawater, it just didn't work at all.
And now he faces his first full night adrift in the ocean.
I was desperately lonesome, and there was no part of this that was not kind of a hellish experience.
Steve knows that it's essential he solves his drinking water problem, and the storm gives him an idea.
I knew that most survivors had relied on collecting rainwater.
If Steve can use the raft's canopy to collect rainwater, he may have hit upon an answer.
It was pretty much like drinking somebody's vomit. It was just so awful, it was undrinkable.
The orange pigment from the canopy contaminates the water.
I decided I'm never going to drink the water off the canopy. It was just too dangerous.
Steve's quest to find solace out at sea has resulted in horrific isolation, and he can see no way out of his ordeal.
I wrote my own epitaph that day. My name is Stephen Callahan. I was shipwrecked at approximately this position. I am drifting in a 6-man raft. I thought that I could go indefinitely as long as the raft was in one piece, and now the raft isn't in one piece anymore. Maybe this is going to be the end of the line.
With the crucial bottom ring of his raft damaged, it is now too unstable for Steve to fish or collect water.
It was like I was walking in rubber quicksand. Plus, it's not really drifting very fast with the wind. So I'm not going to make it if I don't find a solution. I kept getting a repair on there, and I wound stuff around it really tight, and I'd pump it up. I kept doing it again and again and again for days. It was really very depressing because I just didn't think that I could fix it.
Steve knows the punctured raft is a disaster. He's going slower, wasting precious calories pumping it up, and now faces an even bigger problem.
I started consuming both water and the fish that was hanging to dry. I was unable to renew that stock while the bottom was deflated. I imagine it wouldn't have been a whole lot longer before I would have died.
For 10 days, Steve exhausts himself trying to keep the raft inflated, but fails. After battling to stay alive for so long, it's the final straw.
I was absolutely beat. That was it. I gave up. I just laid down. I was like, I just totally broke down. You're gonna die all alone in the middle of the ocean. You've never done anything successful in your life. I only had failed marriage, failed relationships. I'd never really given enough of myself to anybody. I just wasted a life.
Starving, thirsty, and without hope, Steve feels that death is now a certainty.
And then I got scared. This is very real, and you're going to be dead in a matter of hours if you don't snap out of it and get yourself together.
In a final act of desperation, Steve searches for anything that might save his life.
And it just, something happened, and it just clicked, and I go, oh yeah, the fork.
Steve hopes that a fork might just be strong enough to secure a patch to the raft.
I couldn't jump around and jump for joy or anything, but that was just like the hugest victory of my life.
But Steve's elation is short-lived. His supplies have virtually vanished. He's still hundreds of miles from land, and his body is desperately weak.
Well, yeah, I got out of that, but now what? I'm still doomed. There's a day off your life. There's another day off your life. I really didn't think I was going to make it. It really was a period of just hanging on. Oh my God, this is such marginal life. Looking at my watch and thinking that minutes had passed, looking at it again and it being like 30 seconds had passed. It was like, it just seemed to drag on a really long time.
After 66 days alone, Steve's final lifeline is gone. His solar stills have reached the end of their working life.
The cloth on the bottom is rotted out. It's going to be totally useless. There's no way to repair it.
His only means of producing drinking water is now gone.
I just figured this really is it. You know, I have no hope anymore. It was ending.
Steve now only has 3 cans of emergency water left, and his body's toxic salt levels are pushing his sanity to the limits.
The physical part of me is going, hey, there's water over there, let's go snag that. But there was that overbearing rational part of me that was going, no, I don't care. Unless, you know, you are dying, you're not getting into that right yet. This is a view of heaven from a seat in hell.
Alone on the ocean for over 70 days, Steve's body and mind are now shutting down. His only hope is to reach land.
I expected to see the islands like days and days before now. I should be reaching the islands. I should be seeing some sign of reaching the islands.
But then Steve has a shocking realization. If he's miscalculated his position, currents will sweep him back into mid-ocean and certain doom.
Maybe I'm way north of the islands, next stop England, you know, 8 months from now. So that was tough. I was very worried that I had screwed up and I wasn't going to make it. I just don't know anymore. Maybe I'm dead. I've never been dead before. Maybe this is what it's like and this is what I deserve for my shabby life, and maybe I'm just gonna be floating around out here forever. I felt all the hopelessness of people who'd been adrift at sea before and never came back, and nobody ever knew what happened to them. And here I was amongst them, and I could kind of feel them all around me. It just was a horribly desperate feeling. It was over. I was just done. I had no more to give. All of a sudden, it was like all kinds of crates and bottles and plastic. To me, that was the first definitive sign that I was coming into changes. I'm gonna see something. The sun rose. It was like, pff, there's an island in front of me. I couldn't have been more than 10 miles out. To see the green of the island was like, oh, it was intense.
But to his horror, Steve realizes that the island is an impregnable fortress of vertical cliffs and razor-sharp coral reefs.
Oh my God, I've come all this way, and there's no way I can make a landing.
After enduring so much for so long, Steve can't let salvation slip away from him at the final hurdle.
This voyage is ending today. No question about it. One way or the other, this is going to come to an end. That's great. I couldn't believe somebody was actually out there.
On the morning of his 76th day adrift, Steve is spotted by some local fishermen.
He said something to the effect of like, "What you doing out here, man?" You know, it's like, well, I'm not out here, you know, improving my suntan. My senses were like plugged into an electric circuit somehow. They were all amplified so that every color was like really, really vibrant and every smell was really, really intense. It just was like heart-wrenching. It was so beautiful to me.
Having endured 76 days in his tiny raft, Steve's leg muscles have atrophied and he weighs just 100 pounds. After 6 weeks in the hospital, Steve is reunited with the parents he thought he'd never see again. The small island of Miraculous, where he's found, is just 60 miles south of his original destination, Antigua.
There's nothing noble in me having survived. It's just what I did. I had too much unfinished business, and I think that kept me alive to a large degree.